Now, another issue that's making the news, state lawmakers considering a bill to ban students from using cell phones, tablets, other devices in school, perhaps even during their lunch breaks. Now, joining us live, we have Plymouth State Representative Michelle Badger, longtime Plymouth School Committee member, and most recently the chair. Good morning, Michelle. How are you on this soggy morning?
Good morning. I'm glad I didn't have to come in by the sounds of that. So thank you so much for having me. I miss your smiling faces. Thanks for allowing me to come
miss you too. The roads are pretty hairy out there with all the weather this morning. Now, this is an issue that's been floating around for a while, if not in the state legislature. Kids, parents, all talking about this with a cell phone ban in school. What are your thoughts on this?
I think we've had this discussion for a really long time on the school committee about what is, what's appropriate and, how do we best manage a student. But this is the real world that the students are going into. And I know there's a lot of different ways to look at it. There's the complete ban, and then there's, more flexible usage. And I know that Plymouth South High School's in their, I believe, third year of a program that they call Away for the Day, but it's not quite Away for the Day. It's where they allow the students to use it during passing times, use their phone during lunch, and they put it away in their classes. But if their teachers want them to have access to it, they're able to use it. And so for me, that's the way our daily lives are, right? We all go about, there are times that we can't use our phones and there are times that we can. And so, I think at the high school level, it's one thing that we need to make sure that we're getting the students ready for, life after graduation. When you're looking at the elementary and the middle school, I think that's a different story too. I mean, we need to make sure that we're doing this developmentally correctly, because we know that it's undeniably creating a crisis in our mental health across the country. And so there's something that needs to be done, but I think we need to be really careful how we do it.
Now, when you hear from constituents in the community, I know you talk to younger folks too, when you hear from their parents, do they say one thing and do the kids say another thing? How does that mix?
I think it depends on the kid, and it depends on the age, obviously. But, we hear from the kids who really are appreciative that they've got these boundaries at school, because otherwise they'd be on their phone all the time. And then you hear from the kids who are like, I'm mature enough to be able to do this on my own and not be distracted by it. So, and you have the parents who want completely not to have their children to have anything to do with their phone. And then the other parents who, for whatever reason, they want their child to have access to it if, their child isn't feeling well, or if there's something that their child forgot, or if they need to be reminded to be picked up, or, something like that. So it's such a hard issue. And, I haven't been deeply involved, just been kind of following along what's happening in the education committee. But yeah, you hear it, it's from all ends. We're never going to make everybody happy, but it's important that we kind of have these discussions and figure out what's best, and whether that's at I believe the Plymouth Public Schools have been talking about it I know we've been talking about it for years, but where we stand on a policy, I'm not sure of. I know that both our high schools have different ways of dealing with it. I believe both our middle schools are relatively the same now. But, it goes all the way down to elementary. I mean, kids as young as, first grade have phones, which is wild.
Wow, I wasn't even allowed to answer the phone at home at that age. Of course, I'm going back to the dark ages, the Flintstones. But, it's a discussion that I think is going to continue, and I think may see some movement in the legislature this year. Again, that's State Representative Michelle Badger of Plymouth. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we know we're going to ask a little bit about this question again to probably most of our delegation. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.